So we're ready to go. This is my lovely mannequin head. So what we've done is I've taken just wherever the client's parting is. You're working towards where the parting is, because that's like mine. I'd start on that side. There's no point starting from the middle because the balance is off. So I'm assuming my little dolly head has a centre parting. So what I've done is taken, I guess trying to explain it to you, is it's almost like a leaf section. So everybody wants that money piece at the front, so you want to keep that. So the small, it starts at the very, very front there, and I've taken my parting, just from the parting, so the point there, it goes out a little bit and then back into a point at the back on one side, and the same on that side, so it kind of goes around and then back to, just depends on where the hair lies really, but just around, just to the top of the crown. Because this is a refresh technique, or it's for someone that hasn't had balayage before, it's quite subtle. So the idea is this little kind of like leaf section gives you a veil of their own natural colour, and then what we're going to do is lighten the hair through the underneath, so that top will just sit, that piece, that little leaf section there will just sit over the top. So that's why it's important to work towards a parting. So mine would be from there and just out a little bit and around the back. How the width of that section literally depends on the thickness of the hair. So if they've got quite fine hair, I would take it just a smaller section. If the hair's quite thick, the section needs to be a little larger, just so it sits better, and you just need to sort of think about where it's going to balance and where it's going to sit really. So I'll just move her back up again around the side there. So I've just this is the panel that we're going to be working on, this front section panel there. So I've just sectioned off just behind the ear so we can work towards there. I'll try and work so you can see what I'm doing, but also need to get around there a little bit. So I'll just move it that way. So the first section will be just working on a diagonal rather than straight lines all the way through. We're literally going to be working just down towards the front there. So that's my first section, so let me just take that out of the way and you'll be able to see it a little bit better there. Okay, so I'm going to take my weave. Again, how thick your weave is depends on the thickness of the hair. You need a thicker weave if the hair's thicker, and a finer weave if the hair is finer. Just get rid of that. There we go. So I'll take my weave, and I'm going to give it a little back comb, but not back comb, rough back comb. It's almost like just to sort of like diffuse that line a little bit really. And then working with my bleach. How far you go up depends on how much regrowth that they've got. You can start on also the length of the hair, so it's sort of literally, it's a visual thing to see where you want it to be. But what I'll be doing is kind of painting the edge, painting my front edge there. If it looks pretty when it's on the hair, it'll look pretty when it's off. If there's any lines or anything like that, there will be lines when it comes off. So you're painting enough product on just so it can saturate the hair a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just get just a board, just to give me a bit of a background, just to push this in, because I want quite a lot of saturation towards the ends. And then just run that through, and that will just sit. So I can see there how it's going to look when it's all dry, when it's all finished off. If there's any lines or any bits that you don't like, just use the back of your finger and just smudge them in a little bit. And then that can just sit nicely. And like I said earlier, because it's a clay, you can literally take your neck section through the top. How much you put in is completely up to you. Your neck section there, and then work again. So I'll take my weave, give it just a really light little back brush, take my product and paint that through. So I aim to put my product on mid and then just push lighter towards the root. You can go right up to the root if you want to. Again, it depends on the length of the hair. If the hair's a bob or kind of that shorter length, I'd go higher. If it was longer, I'd start a little bit lower. Paint on here. And then just run it through. And then I'm just literally using my board just to push more product into the ends. And it can just sit over the top there. This clay bleach is one of 3 Alfaparf BB bleaches. So you've got the clay bleach, you've also got a 7 levels of lift bleach, and you've got a 9 levels of lift bleach. There's 3 separate products for 3 separate jobs. So the 7 levels of lift it's a blue powder, and it's basically for your everyday work in the salon, so foil highlights, that kind of thing. That product can actually go onto the scalp, and it's again got bond rebuilder in, but it's for your everyday. There's different mixing ratios, which is all on a little chart that you get. There's different ratios for different jobs, and then there's a 9 levels of lift bleach, which is a white powder bleach, and that isn't for on the scalp. That's for off scalp work, and that's for dark hair, sort of colour corrections, that kind of thing. And it just gives you, it's a little bit stronger, it just gives you a little bit more power to your bleach. So my dolly head here, if she was actually a client in the salon and she came in with a picture, and the picture that she showed me was of white blonde highlights, this clay bleach isn't the right bleach for that job. This clay bleach is more, it's a 7 levels of lift bleach. But if you've got previous colour on the hair, it's not going to, because it's an air dry, it's not going to give you enough, there's not enough power. You need a product that will insulate the hair, and then it will lift from there. So really, if she was after sort of really white, very, very light highlights, I'd be looking at maybe doing baby light highlights with the 9 levels of lift bleach to give her that colour that she wanted. This is just a little bit of softer kind of colour result, and it's for just more sun-kissed kind of looks, that sort of thing, because it is an air dry colour. What I would say as well, which I've been caught out a couple of times, is because the bleach is white, as you can see, I've normally got to the top and I've looked back and I've looked at the bottom and it looks really, really, really light, and I panicked and rushed them over to the backwash to take it off, but it's not actually ready. So what I'd say is, once this is all set, your processing time is between 5 and 55 minutes, depending on what kind of look that you're after. It's a visual development time, but just scrape off, use your fingernail and just scrape off a little bit of the clay and just see what the hair is like underneath, and check it is as light as to what you want it to be. Because like I say, sometimes from a distance it looks like it's absolutely white blonde, and when you take it off it isn't. So just make sure it is the lift that you want. So as you can see now, we're just working up towards the front, just making sure I can soften. Everybody likes that lighter hairline really, so just make sure that you concentrate your bits around the hairline, concentrate your technique around the hairline, and then because of the angle that you've left when you do sections at the beginning, because of the angle you're working towards that pivot point at the front, so everything's light, it's giving you that lightness that everybody's after on the hairline. So this is my last section on this side, so you can see how quick a technique it is. This is my last section. Depending on the amount of hair you've got through, the desired effect is how many sections you go with it. This is just a really, really quick, you could almost maybe call it almost like a lunchtime balayage technique, because it is really, really fast to do. So you can see you're getting that colour build up on that money piece at the front there. The beauty of this clay bleach is once you finish your panel, you can look back and you can move the hair around, and you can look back and just check to see if there's any bits that you're not happy with, and you can adjust them there. Whereas I found before I was using clay, I was using cling film, and it was all very well when you were working along your sections, but then when you tried to move the cling film out of the way to have a look how it's developing, the cling film's still on the floor. I used cotton wool, I tried all different techniques. I used cotton wool to stop the hair sitting on top of each other, but it all just got in a big old mess. Whereas this now, if I move her across this way, you can probably see that a little bit better. So because we've started on an angle forward like that, and we've worked towards a pivot point here, this is where you're getting all those nice little lights of blonde. You can add some more kind of piece in if you want to. Just paint it on, and don't be nervous about painting the product on, because if you don't like it you can just wipe it off. So always keep a towel there. So that's that one side done now. What I'll do is I'll work on the other side, and then I'll take the colour off, and then I'll dry it all, and you can have a little look at the finished result. Okay?